Hey guys, welcome to Quinn's Tree Farm. Coming to you straight through the power of YouTube, right from Central Maine. Let's get right to it. Today I'm doing a tip video. We're in the woods getting our tips. It's the middle of the late of October. It's the middle of the last week of October, and we're starting to tip. We don't wait for the 3 hard frosts. I know that I got people all up in a tizzy when I said that it was an old wives' tale, and I think that there's some truth to that. Simply in the sense that I have not, in my experience, seen negative effects of tipping at this point. The tips seem to stay moist enough to get us through December 25th, and my quality has not diminished, and I haven't really received any complaints from anybody. They keep coming back to buy my tips, and to me that's the telltale sign. I'm doing something a little bit different this year, and that's with the Cool Bot. And I'll show that to you later today. But let's talk about tips and what we look for in tips. I am looking for anything that is in the what I would call the Abies Balsama family. Balsama, balsam fir, Fraser, Canaan, bracted balsam. That's what we're putting out for brush, and they're close enough as cousins to be able to use kind of intermingled with each other. And they have good color and things like that. So when we look for a tip, we're looking for what I call the big 3. Now the way that a fir creates its buds is it typically will have 3 buds. Sometimes it has that 4th, which will end up shooting off underneath and creating one of those. But it has those 3 or 4 buds. And every year, those will shoot out. So if you look, this was this year's growth, these 3 here. This was last year's growth, right here, and this was this year's growth. And every year, that's how that splits out, and it gets bigger and bigger, which is why at the bottom of a tree you have like these really big branches that are all like 3s. By looking for this 3-tiered tip, not only do we allow the tree to reproduce if we're going to leave them and not cull the trees out, we get a good amount of material so that we can break it down when we process these in the wreath room. And then the wreath makers will in turn take these, wrap them around the wreath ring, and we have different people have different opinions, but I don't necessarily like to tip down at the bottom. I will, but it's not my favorite, and I'll show you why. When you look at these, the one on the left here, this one is off the bottom and this is on the middle. One of the things you notice on trees from the bottom is the tips tend to flatten out. And they're not very full. They still have good color and everything, but they're just not super full, nice curly tips. But what we're looking for in wreaths are these nice curled tip ends. And you really find them, in this wheelhouse here. If you start looking at the top, they're all spindly, see? Well, those spindles don't make for very good wreaths. What those are going to end up being is these in a couple of years, but they're not there yet. They're new growth this year. So we're really looking for this wheelhouse of tips. And all we do is you go in and you just go in. I typically go into my elbow and I get these tips. And just like that, we start adding up the tips. And as you can see, these are going to end up, this is going to propagate next year. And it's going to grow, and in a couple of 2 or 3 years, given enough time, this tree will be ready to tip again. And we just go around the tree grabbing tips. Okay, so what I've done this year, and I've gone away from the sticks. Remember in that first video we used to put these on sticks. And I like sticks, but I found that this production is a much faster way to get stuff done. And when we're moving up to 10,000 pounds, we need to get stuff done. So the first thing we do is take some sisal baling twine. You can get this right at the Tractor Supply, not the Home Depot, and it's just hay baling twine, and I think it works very well for this application. I'm going to take my sisal twine and I'm going to tie a figure of 8 on one side. I typically take 2 arm lengths, so about 6 to 10 feet, which is plenty. And then I lay it down on the bottom of the baling box. Now this baling box is just simple 1x3 pine, and it's 3 feet tall, 16 inches wide or so, or maybe 24 inches. Yeah, 16 inches wide, and it's 24 inches long and 3 feet tall. And I take those pieces of baling twine and I put them on the bottom, because as you see, we're going to stack this, and we're going to stack it like you would stack brush. And remember, the difference between long brush and tips are the size difference, right? So long brush is going to be the entire stem of the trunk of the tree, the entire branch. And really, long brush is used for applications like grave blankets, I guess, and garlands and other things. And then we're going to take and we're going to put the tips down all in the same direction. And we can either put them in like that or out, but typically I switch them back and forth to get a big pile. And what's going to happen is, once that fills up, we pack it all down, and we're going to take the twine and we're going to tie it all down, and that gives us that hay bale style bundle of tips. And it seems to work really well for me in the application that we're doing, so I've switched to that. All right, guys, so it's been a couple days. I didn't get the rest of the video done the other day, but I'm going to continue and show you what we did anyways, and I'll show you the cooler. As you can see today, it is 75 degrees on October 28th. We had a very minor frost the other morning, very minor. Temperature is supposed to drop out this week, next week, and tomorrow it's supposed to only be like in the 50s and then in the 40s next week. So we're good there. But in the meantime, we're trying to pick tips and get stuff going here. I've already made a couple of wreaths and things like that. So what am I doing? Well, I'll go show you. Please excuse the mess. I'm a work in progress always. So this is the cooler. All right, let me get the light turned on. And that is the cool bot. So as you can see, it's 40 degrees in here. It does have a hard time keeping up when it's 75 degrees out. Mainly because I didn't take the time. I haven't done a good job of insulating the front door, so there's a little bit of a gap there. And that's the air conditioner. And those are my tips. If you look inside over here, it's 40 degrees and the relative humidity is 70%. I think that is fair. It's a little warmer than I'd like, but for the 6 or 8 hours that they're a little bit warmer, I think it's going to be okay. These are the bundles that we have, just like before. And this is how the CoolBot works. So if you look right here, these are your sensors for the air conditioner. And there's on the Comfort Air, that I have, there's a sensor and a secondary sensor. So you have to find the secondary. CoolBot has really good instructions on how to do it. But you take the sensor off the grill and then the secondary and you tie it together. And this red line is connected to the heater. So this element is heating these sensors, tricking the air conditioner to think that it is warmer than 62 degrees in here and that it needs to cool. I have it set to 30. What do I have it? I have it set to 35 degrees in here, but it's not working. It's just, like I said, it's a little too hot with that southern sun. The fins are set to 34 degrees. So let's explain that. One of the problems with running your air conditioner constantly is that you'll get freeze up, right? We have that in the summertime when it's running all the time. These will freeze up. Well, that's especially a big issue if you're running it at 34 degrees. So this is hooked up to the fins line. And this is a temperature sensor that tells you when the fins are too cold and they're creating ice. And it shuts off the CoolBot until the fins clear out, and then it will turn it back on again. And that prevents freeze up here. This was $375. The air conditioner was free at this time because I bought it before and never put it in my house. But you know, I mean, it was probably a $500 air conditioner. I used DuPont Thermex aluminum coated foam, fiberglass foam insulation. It has an R value of 6.5 per inch. There are 6 inches. I got this for a deal. The black stuff was reclaimed from a roof project somewhere, and I bought this for $14 a sheet. And then the aluminum face was only $40 a sheet, which is like way less. So I ended up spending about $500 in insulation. So right now we're probably up to, if you do the math, we're probably close to $1,000. An 8x16x8 reefer unit, professionally done, you know, and sent in, is probably on the scale of $20,000. I'm going to continue to run this until it gets cold enough at night and during the day that it will be, you know, in the 40s, low 40s and 30s in here, and it will be able to turn it off, and then we don't have to run it. It's really chilly in here. It's quite nice today when it's 75 degrees out. And yeah, you know, I'd really rather feel bad in Maine than feel good anywhere else. And I feel really good right now in this refrigerator. So there we go, my friends. I'll see you soon.